Y'all good? All right. It's Vegas. It wouldn't be right if we came all the way to Vegas to do poetry and I didn't do some erotic shit. Because what happens here allegedly stays here, except that every person I've ever met that goes to Vegas comes back and tells me everything that fucking happened. So that shit y'all got on billboards here kind of sucks. Because no one's paying attention. So there's two kinds of erotic poetry. There's that dangerous fantasy erotic poetry that a lot of poets do because as wordsmiths, as writers, we make ordinary shit sound great. And then there's like reality erotic poetry. We actually talk about like shit that happens and it's like, you know, the poems are 2 minutes long because a lot of shit happens sometimes. So this is I can't do the erotic poetry because there's too much expectation to live up to if somebody's like, let's go home and try that shit. Can't live up to that expectation anymore. So I do reality erotic poetry now. Shovelful by shovelful. Dirt jumped back off the shovel and piled high by the tombstone that marked my new home and my soul. Watched people stand in my grave's hole and I found it odd when the preacher said soul his rest God. People walked backwards, back towards their cars and jumped in back first as that black hearse reversed and backed away until it reached the church on that sad, solemn Saturday. As raindrops jumped from the ground to the clouds and the preacher said aloud, pray us let. And I could not forget the haste with which tears fled single file back up my mother's face and my sister's look of hurt as she walked my mother backwards out the church and I was back in that funeral home. Some unknown man had a tube in my hand and I heard him say it's fluid embalming and as it exited my blood came back in. Suddenly I was once again in this hospital bed and my heartbeat said boop, 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 boop. I was alive again, and then the nurse backed in, and night turned into day 5 times in cyclical fashion, and that nurse kept asking, today you are how? Every 4 hours I vomited up the 6 pills she made me devour in hopes that they killed what's causing me this pain. My room was filled with flowers, and day by day they became less as tests were conducted only after results were told to me. 5 days prior to my demise, my arrival was marked by ambulatory sirens, and I was in the back of that ambulance that swiftly sped steadfastly back to the apartment in which I dwell, and I saw scenes of hell as I was carried on that gurney back into the apartment and placed back on the floor as paramedics rushed backwards out the door, and moments before they responded quick, I regained consciousness and started feeling sick. All of a sudden, I was healthy and well-eased is how my mother told the person on the phone I was doing. And with a hello, the conversation had begun, and then she hung up the phone, and then the phone rang. It took me back to the time 379 days ago when the phone rang, and I answered it real slow. Prior to that slow hello, I took a breath, and suddenly it was 2 weeks ago, and I just took a blood test. The needle came slowly out my arm, and I rolled my sleeve back down, and I walked backwards around the exam chair and sat back in the waiting room with the carefree stare of reflection on how I could not possibly have an infection. I walked backwards out the doctor's office and sat back in the softness of my Maxima seats, and I drove the streets backwards through time to 6 months ago, and I arrived back on the doorstep of some girl I really didn't know. I walked back through her door, and my clothes and her clothes both hit the floor, and I told her before this, like sex had never I. Prior to our sexual action, our passionate attraction had us kissing, and I kept reminiscing back to the look in her eyes when she smiled, and I thought, cool. Then I remembered she said, that need, don't you. It was 2:15, and I saw my soul looking back at me, and I knew I was acting foolishly. You don't get second chances at bad romancing, and I begged my soul to let me go back to that moment in time when I was still a living, breathing man when that unused condom jumped out the trash can and landed back in my hand. I have another letter. Because letters, like I said, they're really powerful. You'll sense a theme from my letters. This is my second letter I wrote. This is called Dear Chris Brown. Any Michael Jackson fans? All right. This was inspired by the song titles throughout Michael Jackson's career, so you can count them at home if you'd like to. You'll know some when you hear them. Dear Chris Brown, you are one smooth criminal. Rather than loving Rihanna, you chose to beat it. Now you have a problem staring at the man in the mirror. Your actions were off the wall, and now you're crying she's out of my life. Your possessive nature, a belief in the thought that the girl is mine. You raised your fists and bruised a pretty young thing because you just want to be starting something. Instead, you should have been honoring her as the lady in my life. Stop acting as if it's just your human nature. You're a bad representation of men, and I can't express the way you make me feel. Your celebrity life isn't a jam. Do you remember the time when you were on top of the world and now it's all gone too soon? Victim of a dangerous personality defect, controlled by a thought that I can't let you get away, so you hit her, made her scream, bruised her smile, made her the victim of the tabloid junkie, but BET rescued you. Made many people forget the history. Showing once again that money can make people forget and heal the world, but this time around I hope you do things differently. I'm still speechless that you are allowed to do a tribute to the greatest entertainer of all time. But remember, you are not invincible or unbreakable, and whatever happens, I hope you feel threatened forever and scared speechless. I believe in second chances for people, and for you, Chris, this is it. All right. For all you erotic, nasty motherfuckers that thought that the nasty, erotic shit was actually going to be erotic and not some, fuck. Make you second guess every drunk decision you ever made, right? I know I get nervous every time I read that piece. Like, damn, I'm guilty. Here's some real nasty shit. You're welcome. Wet lips. Juice, swallow, hold hips in place, grab waist, taste, woman, enriched by scent of peach, reach, squeeze, pull, hold, bold bedroom bully, eyes wide open, hoping to commit sin unspoken, body parts woven, sewn in, stitched within woman, fuck like life's unfair, climax in pairs, pull hair, bare-breasted and raw, unlawful, thoughtful, delicate soul, eyes bold, irises aglow, window into woman, stained glass, peach ass, scented in sunshine, washed in white wine, intoxicating skin, face deep within her lower limbs, breathe, begin. Stretch, caress, forgive, forget, hold hands, take small steps, make memories worth remembering for centuries, share unpleasantries, then redefine makeup, sex, call it peach-flavored fuck fest, embrace naked, exchange love, hug, hold heart in hand, feel feelings, delicate, revealing, face below waistline, hairline aligned with feminine meridian, roll her over onto abdomen, chest against back, and enter in, pinned, wet within, fuck like it's religion, confess to perfect breasts, bite neck, bite shoulder, bite back, ass smack, dig deeper. Reach her core, explore, find majesty in her fantasy, fuck like it's love, be love, butterflies and peach fuzz, kissed her just because, carve her a constellation, fuck standing up while still embracing, make angry faces, stumble to find the right words, make sure her voice is heard, loved and listened, deep stroke, sweat, glisten, be her reason for orgasms and back spasms, peach perfected passion, be rough and delicate, enjoy the smell of it, fuck just for the hell of it. Melt together and mold into heaven, fuck like it's a curse, but cherish the blessing, make up positions like 67. Fuck her in the morning before she starts dressing. Embrace her womanhood. Love her through the bad and the good. Restore her joy. Breathe hope into her lungs. See peach-colored sun as each day's begun. Kiss her again. Begin. All right, so I'm going to close out with this one. I'm going to go back to old shit. Hopefully I don't mess this up. I have not done this poem in a long time, but having conversations with other poets, and I feel like I need to do this one tonight. So, one night, God came to me in a dream with a scheme that seemed to be out of this world. He approached me and opened his robe and showed me a hypodermic needle in the shape of a pen, and my first reaction was to jump back fast, but then God grabbed me and said, "Slow down, my child. I've got a job for you to do." He said on June 10th, 1976, I mixed this poetry in a bloodstream, and the next day, I made sure you were born. Now it's over 36 years later, and it's time for phase 2. I allowed the first dose I gave you to fester inside for over 35 years, and now I've got a hypodermic pen full of my tears so I can feed you my pain. Your pen can then bleed my pain, and with a burst of light, God grabbed my arm and said, I mean you no harm, and he pushed the pen in and it filled my arteries, and God chartered me to write some new stuff, some true stuff, something just for you stuff, and when I was done with part 1, God said, write some part 2 stuff. He injected me with Billy's Blues and the muse of Langston Hughes, and God said, you've acquired some of the tools in the schools you've been attending, but now it's time to stop pretending, and he started sending into my bloodstream the poetic feats of John Keats and the published greats of W.B. Yeats. And just when I thought God was through, he started slipping me hits of Maya Angelou. And God asked, do you know what I've handed you? And my response was no. And God said, let me show. And he continued to fill my veins the same way he had been, giving me a fix of Emily Dickinson. And my bloodstream seemed to scream as God gave me the liquidated literary genius of W.E.B. And I got lost between doses of Robert Frost, and my eyes got blurry in a flurry, and I was no longer seeing them, but I could feel Emerson, Tennyson, and Stevenson. And God said, you won't get far without Paul Laurence Dunbar, and you can't start spitting until I've given you Whitman. And he closed my arm tight, and I snapped it back open and said, you're not yet ready to write. He said, tonight has just begun. Everything's all right, my son. You see, I need you. I use poetry to teach people. The world I created has been overrun by ignorant thinking, and I need poets to take the world back and break the curse. Now unbend your arm so I can give you William Wordsworth. And again, the pen was shoved in my veins, and God grabbed the reins, and as if I was a mule, he said, I'll use you as my tool and plow the field with you, fulfilling empty minds' needs while planting knowledge seeds. No longer will it be a flourishing time for malnourishing minds. I want you to make intelligence a law, because ignorance is a crime. And the next time in your mind you sit down to write, I want you to think about tonight. Concentrate on the bloodline of greats in which you and your poetic mates have descended. You and them must not be apprehensive. You must teach everyone by writing comprehensive and thinking in the fifth dimension, so people start sensing the knowledge I'm dispensing through you and this poetic bloodline. Now I need you to go and reap what you sow while captivating minds like Edgar Allan Poe. I gave you the wings, so now fly like the raven. This world needs saving. Feel free to fight off your fears within this injection of my tears, who contains the remains of great things gone and new things to come beyond the next dawn. You're the next in a bloodline of greats. You are a poet. You command the attention of large groups. You ready the troops for evolution. You write words that can commend or condemn, turn boys into men, make other poets push pens, and you must be about something more than poetry slam scores based on 10, because you are a poet. Think about all the great things poets have accomplished, and when the writing gets rough, hold on to your pen and don't drop this. Always take time in your mind to reflect back on the fact that you're the next to step forth from this poetic bloodline. Just want to give a quick shout out to Lonnie and everybody involved. Appreciate bringing me out all the way to Vegas. My first time in Vegas. A lot of love. I had a great time. Y'all been great. I would say I had like CDs. If you're really like into my shit and want to take me home with you, you can in CD form.
CDs are for sale.
It's Vegas.
But I only have like 4 of them shits left. So that's going to be interesting if anybody wants them. If I run out of CDs and you want to take me home, it's a little more than $10, but fuck it, I'll go. I got to be at the airport at 6, so just drop me off, all right?
There you go.
Vegas, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I'll make some noise for Gemini.
Give it up for my boy Gemini. Everybody in the back having a good time, right? You can hear the poetry.